Welcome to the analysis lesson for A Christmas Carol for the first half of Stave 3. Okay, so we're back to analysing a section of the text. So can you please put your title and your date in your book and underline with a ruler? So our title's analysing the whole text. So your exam will require you to analyse extracts, but also to explore the novel as a whole, and today's lesson is going to help you to do that. But let's start with our key word for the lesson. So our key word is antithesis. So that means the opposite. Okay, we've also got a key phrase, not necessarily a key word, social responsibility, the awareness of the needs of others and a sense of duty to help. So I want to see if you can write a sentence using each of these words or phrases. So antithesis, let me give you an example. So, because I love Harry Potter. In Harry Potter, Neville Longbottom is the antithesis of Lord Voldemort / he who must not be named. Sorry, guys. So antithesis, it means they are the opposite of. So we'd normally use that to talk about kind of people. I guess we often go more than people, but I would say for your writing to mainly stick to people. You can use it in other contexts, but try to just keep it to people for the moment. Okay, so who is the antithesis of Scrooge? Write me a sentence. Where does Dickens show us about social responsibility or social responsibility, as it says there? Apologies for that. Okay, so context corner. Now this is a different one this week because you have to watch a video for 2 minutes and 7 seconds. Don't watch all of it. 2 minutes and 7 seconds. I want you to watch this video now and then take some notes on what you learn about Victorians and Christmas. So the YouTube link will be put in your lesson on the VLE in the Google Classroom. So follow it, please, and make some notes on your context mind map about Victorians and Christmas. 3 bullet points, please. What I think are the 3 most important points. So first of all, we've got that customs were made popular by Prince Albert. For example, he introduced these customs of cards and of trees when he married Queen Victoria. In the Victorian era, Christmas was a time of goodwill, so there was an expectation of showing goodwill, showing Christian behaviour. And then the final thing, that Christmas carols were a relatively new tradition. So the chap in the video said that in 1833 the first book of Christmas carols were published. This book was written in 1843, so actually not a huge amount of time difference. So Christmas carols are quite novel, and by the sounds of it, it was a way of people coming together and celebrating Christmas together. So when we think about the title of the novel, A Christmas Carol, we need to be aware that Christmas carols are new. They're a way of people coming together to celebrate Christmas and show not just their religious devotion, but to show this sense of community, and that's obviously going to be major when we start to consider the significance of the title of the book. Okay, Year 10. So the next thing you're going to do is, as I said at the start, we are looking at the whole text. So we're looking at the bigger picture today rather than a mini extract. So we're going to be comparing Scrooge at the beginning of the novel with Scrooge in the middle of the novel. And you can see here that I'm showing you how you might want to lay that out. So we've essentially got to get a bank of 3 quotes from the beginning and 3 quotes from the middle to show that change in Scrooge. So I suggest that you have a box per moment, so box from the beginning, box from the middle. You leave yourself space for 3 quotes, and there's 3 columns, 1 for the quote, 1 for the explanation of what that quote tells us, and then 1 for the zoom, so you're zooming in on an individual word. So these are your instructions. We are looking at the question, how does Dickens present this change in Scrooge to the novel? So you're finding me 3 quotations to show what Scrooge is like by the middle of the novel. You're finding 3 quotations to show what Scrooge is like at the beginning of the novel. So you've got the beginning contrasted with the middle, and then for each quotation you're going to write what it suggests and zoom in on the key word used. So the next slide's going to show you that grid again. So can you please pause the video in a second when I tell you to. Get down your quotes, your explanation, and your zoom. You don't have to lay it out like this, but I think it's a good idea to lay it out like this. Okay, pause the video now. All right, Year 10, so here's an example of the quotes that I came up with. So I looked at that explanation, the description of Scrooge that we had in our very first analysis lesson, where we looked at that paragraph where he was described as solitary as an oyster, tight-fisted hand at the grindstone, hard and sharp as flint. Okay, and then in the middle, we have a flashback to Scrooge's youth, where Belle tells him that she's been replaced by a golden idol. We've got Scrooge saying to the ghost, "Why do you delight to torture me?" And then he also says, "I cannot bear it." So those are just three quotes that I came up with from the middle that I thought were interesting in showing his change. So if you've struggled to get some quotes, then can you use those and fill in your explanation column and fill in your zoom column? Okay, pause the video now. Okay, so once we've got our quotes and we're thinking about how Scrooge is beginning to change, you need to be able to identify the main message of A Christmas Carol. So what is he using Scrooge's journey in the novel as a tool to show us? So Scrooge's journey doesn't exist just for the sake of Scrooge. It exists to tell us something. We're meant to learn something for his journey. So Dickens uses Scrooge's journey in the novel as a tool to, what is he using it for? So, suggestions. Perhaps he criticises the attitude of Victorian society to the poor and argues that we must change and become a more caring society. Perhaps he teaches us that we cannot live as self-interested individuals, but must come together as a community to create a better world. Perhaps he celebrates altruism, that kind-giving nature, and emphasises the Christian message of caring for one's neighbours to create a better society for all. So what I would like you to do is I want you to pick one of the above bullet points and you're going to write it out in your book. So Dickens uses Scrooge's journey in the novel as a tool to, and then pick bullet point 1, 2 or 3. Okay, once you've got that copied out in your book, you're going to write me an explanation of how Scrooge's change in the novel so far supports this message. So pause the video and copy out your point sentence now, starting with Dickens uses Scrooge. Okay, just a reminder that as you are writing your explanation, you want to be using the keywords from the vocabulary grid. So, for example, we've got social responsibility from the opening. We've got misanthropic, which we used for Stave 1. We've got benevolence, which contrasted with that. We've got negligence, I think would be nice to use for Stave 1. And then we've got antithesis, which is our key word for today, so opposite. So has Scrooge become the antithesis of what he was, or is he not quite there yet? Okay, so moving back to this point sentence we should have written down, you are explaining how Scrooge's change in the novel so far supports this message, but you're not just going to say Scrooge changes from good to bad and that supports that message. You need to include some quotes, some before quotes, some after quotes. You need to tell me what those quotes show, and you need to be able to zoom in on words. Even better if you zoom in on techniques as well. So I want a minimum of 2 quotes from the start, then a minimum of 2 quotes from the end to explain how Scrooge has changed. Okay, Year 10, off you go. Once you've finished, take a photo of your analysis paragraph and send it to your teacher. Thanks very much. Well done.